I'm Doug Aldrich, and welcome to the video. We're going to cover a bunch of styles and techniques and things that I like to do, and I'm going to try and gear it towards the beginners as well as the people who are really good players, and show you some things that hopefully that you'll learn and that you don't know. And we're going to cover a bunch of stuff, and hope you really dig it. All right, first thing we got to do today is we got to tune up together so that we can communicate. My guitar is set up for an E flat for a couple of reasons, but I'm going to just call it an E for today, just so because that's what it looks like. So here's the high E. I want you to tune to this right here. And here's the E chord. All right, here we are, part one of our private lesson together. Let's talk about some bending. Bending is like one of my favorite things because it really shows the emotion. I'm like a pretty moody person. Sometimes I'm up and sometimes I'm down, and bending kind of helps me bring my personality out more. If I'm playing a song that's really aggressive, the bending can make it even more aggressive and more passion. If it's something that's kind of sad or slow or vibey or trippy, then you can use the bending to accentuate that. So to me, bending is like really important. And as you know, when you bend, you have to be careful about the pitch, because if you bend too far, then it's a little sharp, and if it's not quite enough, it's a little flat. And it sounds bad when you don't bend in the right spot. So you have to figure out which note you're going to bend to, and then you practice bending up to that note. Eventually, as time goes on, you get the scales and the keys that you're in your head, and you immediately know from experience, what things to bend and where they sound good and where they don't. But one of the things that maybe in the beginning people don't understand is that you use all your fingers to bend, or whichever ones you prefer. But I always use these first two fingers when I'm bending to help bend. It helps you have a little more control on the note, and it gives you a little more strength. So like if you were to do it with just one finger, say if you're bending on this note to here, and you were using one finger, it would be like this. It's really hard to do it. It's just much easier if you grab with these two fingers. And notice I'm bending to this, I'm bending a whole step to this note. And then you want to add a little vibrato on it too, because it also sounds a little cold if you don't put your vibrato in it. And it takes a bit of time, but you'll get it. You can bend anywhere on the neck or with any fingers that you want. Sometimes with your first finger, it is easy to bend with this one finger. That's the one time that it's okay to bend with one finger for me, and it's stuff like this. And it really it sounds nice as opposed to doing all the time. If you put some bends in there, you get more emotion from it. So for stuff like and what I'm doing there is I'm basically just sticking in the minor pentatonic and A again, and there's little patterns that you'll get to learn, and places where you bend that sounds good. If you're playing over an A minor chord, always this blues bending will work good. This is a great lick right here. This is like everyone's used it, and everyone adapts it into their own style, which is what I did. And it's just like this. And you can do all kinds of different stuff. You can play it fast. Or you can play it real slow, kind of like some of the 70s guitar players. Some of the other bending on the other strings is a little more tricky, especially on the higher strings. If you're on this pentatonic pattern, you notice I'm using these two fingers again, and that's kind of important because otherwise it's a little hard to get a grab on it. So you notice I'm using those fingers all the time. It's what I do. That's my thing. Which is, it's good because it gives you more control and strength, as I said. So that I really dig all the bending thing. It really adds to the emotion of what you're trying to do, and you can, if you're in the middle of a fast lick, you can break it up with the bending. And that low stuff is really cool. It's got a lot of attitude. This. That's this pattern right here is another pentatonic pattern that you either know or you should know. When I'm practicing these pentatonic scales, I'll try and keep my hand in one position like this. And this one would be like this. But as you're playing and you're soloing and stuff, sometimes it's good to just use other fingers, That's just a good exercise like that, to play those scales real slow and really clean so that you make sure that you're good with them. But later on, you might, instead of using this finger, this fourth finger, you might use your third finger. Because you can sometimes play faster, and also it frees up your pinky for higher notes. Like that kind of thing. But to finish up on bending, it takes a long time to get really comfortable with it, and there's all over the neck, any scale or pattern that you play, there's going to be spots where it sounds good to bend. If we're in the key of A, like we've been playing in A minor over this type of thing, these patterns, those are some of the cool places to bend. If you go up to another pentatonic pattern in A, you're still in A. There's places here. Those are all cool things. So every scale that you play, there's going to be places where it's really good to bend. And the more that you do it, and I'll try and show you some of the licks today, but the more that you do it, the better you'll get at it. So that covers bending, single note bending. There's a couple other things you can do with the bending that sound really good. I kind of discovered it by accident because I might not have grabbed the note properly, and you end up hitting two strings at the same time and bending them together, and it's a really cool thing. It like sounds really aggressive and cool. This is what it sounds like right here. And at the end of a run or something, it's a cool way to end it. There's a couple different ways you can bend two notes. This one right here was off of this E minor pentatonic scale. And I'm bending it here. You can bend it here too. And it's nice as opposed to always doing like this sort of thing. Sometimes it's nice to go. It's got a lot of motion to it. Another type of thing is sometimes down by the nut in E, you can do these bends where you're having the E string ring out on its own, and you're bending up to an E from the D note here, stuff like this. It's kind of got a nice sound to it. Another kind of bending is called double stop bending, which for me is a cool thing. If you bend to a note and then you stop there and then you go higher like this. You're bending to this note here, and then you're bending up another, and then coming all the way down. So let me do it again real quick. You're bending to that note, and then you're coming all the way down, so it sounds like this. Those are kind of nice sometimes too, to break it up. So if you mix all those bending things in together, you can get something like this. Now that one I just ended on is a cool one too. I call it the Ernie bend because it sounds like you're saying the word Ernie. It's kind of like Ernie, Ernie, Ernie type of thing. This is a thing where you're basically, it's similar to this one, the low one I showed you. And you might hold this note here and bend this one up to it. And you can do it here as well. And if you can get used to holding the fingers and doing that, you can kind of break it up a little like this. So there's all kinds of great ways to bend, and those are a few that I like. Next, I want to talk to you about one of the techniques that I really, really enjoy, which is staccato and legato runs, which is basically the way I look at it is staccato is kind of sharp and tight versus legato, which is smooth and it's long and it has a smooth effect. So staccato is like this type of thing. That's the type of staccato thing. Let me show you that slower. And some ways that I like to use that is kind of like this. There's some other staccato runs that I like. This kind of thing. And you're basically picking the notes, all of them, and slow it would be like this. I'm starting on a upstroke, so it's up, down, up. I'm starting on an upstroke, so it's up, down from there, starting on this note here. Some other staccato runs that I like are stuff like this. And slow, that's kind of like this. Let me take one of those patterns and I'll show you the pattern because it can be an exercise for you. That's going to help you. Starting with a downstroke on that one. And you just need to practice it real slow. And I don't use the staccato stuff a whole lot, but once in a while it's really nice. But practice it really slow, and you'll be cool with it. All of them, with the staccato, you should start them off really slow. Certain other ones, you may start with an upstroke. So that one I start with an upstroke. You just have to go back and forth. There's no right or wrong way. I'm just telling you how I do it, starting with either an up or a down. That's based on how I'm used to playing it. Some of the legato stuff I really dig a lot too. It's kind of, I think my style is more kind of legato, because it's smooth and you can still play fast and stuff. But if you wanna all of a sudden start playing harder and staccato-y, it blends nicely with the legato stuff. Just a basic pentatonic legato run that I do is or a legato exercise, I should say, is like this. You can see I'm picking like that way. You can use that all over the place. I just pick little sections of the scale that I like to do it, and then I'll kind of sit there for a minute. So that covered a couple different positions in the scale. We're in the key of E minor right now, and it started off on a pentatonic scale here. And I went into the next position of the pentatonic scale, then to the next spot. Then I hit the blues note. And I started to actually use my pinky as well with this one. Now, that's the same technique right there. Still down, down, hammer, down, up, pull off, and then hammer. That's how it is, and it's always the same on that particular thing. And the reason why it doesn't sound like all the same back and forth is because I'm throwing in some bending and some changing it up a little bit. If it was always the same, it's like this. And it's cool and everything, but it's nice to change it up once in a while. Here's another little legato thing that I like. There's a couple other little ones too that are really cool that I should show you. That one's basically just this pattern. Here it is slow. And here it is faster. All right, this is part 2. We got here finally. I was talking a lot in the first part, but now I'm going to do some playing. This is, we're going to talk about modes on the second part. Basically, we're talking about diatonic scales with the modes, and the first one's the Ionian mode. I'll play it in F right here. And basically, the modes are like spices. They're like when you're cooking, putting a spice in. And the Ionian is the major scale. It's the kind of happy sound a little bit, and it goes with major chord progressions like. The next mode, and I'm going to get into a little bit of theory in this part as well. The next mode is the Dorian mode, which is this one. Now, I'm going to play this again, but I'm going to play the Dorian mode in F, like I did the Ionian. This is F Dorian now instead of F Ionian. Now what you're going to notice is I'm starting in F, but the pattern's different. Basically, there's 7 notes in the major scales, in the major diatonic scales, and there's one pattern for each note. And here's the Ionian again in F. And here's the Dorian in F. Now, basically, this is a minor scale that is kind of a blues-based scale. I'm going to show you how to use these in a minute. The next one's Phrygian. That's kind of like a Spanishy type of sound. So, for certain things that have that. That gives you that sound that goes with that chord progression. The next one's Lydian, and that's a major jazz scale. That one we probably won't be using too much today because we won't be playing jazz, but it's a major jazz scale. The next one's Mixolydian, which I'm sure you've heard of, and it's this one. And that's a really cool one for all kinds of playing in the hard rock kind of style. And the last one is the next one is Aeolian, and that's the pure minor scale. That's the most common one for the hard rock thing that people use when they're using a diatonic scale. That's the one that most chord progressions are based around pure minor. The last one now is the Locrian or Locrian. I'm not even sure how you say it, but it's a minor jazz scale. Now, that one we won't be using much today either, but it's good to know. Now, here's the deal. The diatonic scale, dia, means 7 tones for tonic. So diatonic is a 7-tone scale, and if you make one scale from each note, you're going to come up with an octave of scales. So say in the key of F, we can take this first pattern in F Ionian, and then take the Dorian pattern next, and then the Phrygian next, and so on. Basically, it goes Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian, Aeolian, and then Locrian. Now there's seven notes, so what you're doing is you're building a pattern off of each one of those notes, and you're only using those 7 notes on the whole fretboard, and those are what those patterns are. And so that's when you see guys doing like they're just going on those scales. They're just going back and forth. And here's kind of this is how I might do something like that. This is a run that works. So let's go to the key of A now. This is a run that works pretty cool. And that's basically taking 2 patterns, this one and this one here. And in the key of A, you're putting them together. You're switching right here. You're switching right in the center there. Instead of going, you're going. Then you move. So with these diatonic scales, it's limitless. And what you want to be able to do, the end result you want to be able to do, is if I said to you, I've got a pure minor progression, or just a rock and roll progression that's a minor thing, you want to be able to take the Aeolian mode, which is the minor scale, the pure minor scale, and play it in any key. So if I said to you, play it in G, you take that pattern that's Aeolian, and that's where it's going to be. I might say, play it in B. So I got this riff here. And you play this. It's the same pattern I just played in G. I'm just moving it to B now. And now, once I know that scale works, then all those other 7 that I showed you will work around it, like this. So say you're like, okay, I like that one right there, and I'm in the key of B. That pattern will work in B. So we're on to string skipping blues licks. This is a thing that I really like a lot because it's pretty flashy, and you can use it to break up a regular pattern. Now the blues pattern is the pentatonic pattern. Pentatonic, so there's 5 notes in that scale, and there's 5 scales. Anyways, this is one of them that I really like a lot. Slow, here it is, like this. Another one that I like is this one right here. This is in the key of E, this one right here. And here it is slow. Another one that's pretty cool is this one right here. The end of it, right here. Here's one that's kind of a tricky little. Octaves is a good thing to use sometimes. You know, when you're in the middle of some type of a run or something. Check this out. Now basically what's going on there is all kinds of string skipping from this one here, that one right there, so those are the octaves and the string skipping, and it's a pretty cool thing. Let's do a couple pentatonic runs that I like. We'll do this in D. That's basically That starts off on this D minor pentatonic. And you're stretching your fingers out. That's one of them right there. Here's another one that I like. That's basically a couple of things. It starts off here. And then you're going up to there. So if you take the pentatonic scale and add in the flat 5, it's going to give you that really kind of mean, kind of bluesy sound, like this. Here's your pentatonic. And here's the flat 5. It's got a real, like, mean sound to it, which is kind of cool. That's basically just a lot of little things using that. Instead of you're doing this pattern, you're doing this. Or you're doing this. Either way, you're hitting that flat 5. Basically, if you're in the key of E, here's your minor pentatonic. And here it is major. You just move it down 3 frets. One from here, 1, 2, 3, and now your major pentatonic in E. And then if you slide it up, you're back into minor. And the two together is really cool. right, we're at part 3 here, which is basically, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about developing your own style, and something that's really important is playing with as much attitude and soul as you can. Developing your style comes from playing a lot. That's when you really get it, and you have to put the hours in, playing scales, playing chords, and sooner or later, probably, you know, it takes a little while, but you start to develop little things like what I do. A simple thing is, instead of just bending like this, I'll do something stuff like that. Little things like that can set you apart from everybody, because you don't hear. Everyone does different things, and little licks. You'll end up. One of mine that I always do is. That kind of thing. Those types of things, people, as you play more and you play with the band, you'll start to do those things more often, and people, when they hear it, will think of you. That's developing your style. That's one of the ways. And you try and carve out little licks for yourself, like something like this. There's lots of little things that go into that make you have your own style. It's the way that you slide into a note, or the way that you bend it, or your vibrato, or the choice of notes that you pick, you know, as opposed to playing just the straight pentatonic. I like this Dorian mode a lot. And you can use those things to your advantage, and it'll help set you apart from other people. And that's the whole point. You just got to find little things that you do that you don't hear people do all the time. That's what I've always tried to do. Was you know, if you hear someone's playing that you like, you might take certain things that they do and make them your own. You know, you might take something that Gary Moore did, or Jeff Beck, or Jimi Hendrix even, and do it in your own way. So something like this. It's kind of like a Hendrixy type thing, but there's lots of ways you can break it up and do it your own way. And now that doesn't sound like Hendrix as much anymore. That's how I would do it, or a Jeff Beck lick, or Michael Schenker. You know, Michael Schenker used to always use the Mixolydian scales and the major pentatonic. But if you use the scales, if you play those scales and do them your own way, then you're not going to sound like him. You're going to sound like yourself. So that's really what you want to do. Is just, you got to play a lot, and you got to look for things that you like to do and you like the sound of, and don't worry about what other people are doing. You don't necessarily want to copy anybody, because then that makes it harder to get your own style. The more that you copy the way that your favorite guitar player plays, the more you're going to sound like him, and you won't sound like yourself. And really, that's what I want you to do. I want you to sound. I want your personality to come out in your playing. So that's what you need to try and do.